Before time began, there was the cube.
What is thy bidding, my master?
Welcome, my young apprentice. It is good to see you again. I have felt a disturbance in the Eternities. I believe that Wizards of the Coast has just released a new Magic the Gathering set called Edge of Eternities. Today, you and I shall observe this new set and decide upon which cards in it are worthy of cube. First, we have Lightstall Inquisitor. This creature fills multiple archetypes, being both an angel and a wizard. At only 1 mana makes it incredibly powerful. The ability to remove a card from your opponent's hand and make it cost more is a minor stall ability like we've seen before, but very potent. Next is Honored Knight Captain. A 1/1 for 2 might not seem very good on its head, but the fact that it makes a token and also has a very interesting ability that mid to late game allows you to find the best equipment in your deck is not to be understated. My apprentice, you must find the Star Winder. It might seem like your average Timmy card by being a 7/7 for 7, but the fact that you can warp this in for only 4 mana allows you to gain massive amounts of card advantage if your early turns start with evasive small creatures. Beware the wiles of our opponents, my apprentice. Honor is their weapon. For only 1 white mana, they can cast this sorcery to put a 1/1 counter on any creature, and then draw a card. Many cubes enjoy spell-slinging archetypes, and things that can duplicate spells on the stack. For only 1 mana, this spell is incredibly powerful when tied with something along the lines of Feather the Redeemed. Starfield Shepherd might seem like an odd inclusion in this list, but hear me out, my apprentice. For only 2 mana, you can warp this creature onto the battlefield, allowing you to search through your deck for either a basic plains or, more importantly, a mana value 1 creature. This makes it an interesting choice, as it allows peasant cubes and the like to play Ranger Captain of Eos style effects, adding a whole new archetype into their cubes. Do not underestimate the Darkworker, my apprentice. For 2 mana, you get a 1/1 creature that enters with an additional 1/1 counter, effectively making it only a 2/2 bear. But beware its second ability. When it dies, it moves its counters onto any other creature you control, meaning if you were able to stack additional 1/1 counters, or an indestructible counter, a trample, haste, vigilance, or flying counter on it, that creature would also get those counters, allowing this to effectively be a pseudo-Ozolith for peasant and pauper cubes. Our enemies are intelligent indeed, my apprentice. Behold Memenon, the Right Hand. For 5 mana, you get a 3/4 legendary Jellyfish Advisor that has flying and allows you to look at the top card of your library. You can cast cards from the top of your library as though you have some form of future sight ability. But more importantly, artifacts you control have tap for 1 blue. Spend this mana only to cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. Be aware, my apprentice, that many cubes enjoy playing artifacts that cost only 1 or even 0 mana, meaning that as long as you have one of those on the top of your library, it is incredibly easy to cast every single card that you see. For masters of the cube that wish to dabble in artifact synergies, I highly recommend Steel Swarm Operator. 2 mana for a 1/1 robot soldier with flying. You can tap it to add 1 blue mana, only to cast artifact spells. You can also tap it to add 2 blue mana, and only to activate abilities of artifact sources. Early in the game, this is an incredible amount of mana generation for very little investment. For those who desire power that some would consider unnatural, behold the Mechan Navigator. 2 mana for a 2/1 robot pilot that says whenever this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. At first glance, it may seem only useful as attackers. At first glance, this creature might only seem powerful as an attacker, but remember, in Cube you get to include some of the more powerful tapping and untapping abilities, such as Freed from the Real, Springleaf Drum, and Crab Umbra. Listen, apprentice. The dark side flows within Zoo If Fit, Osteo Harmonist. For 3 mana, you get a 2/3 legendary human wizard that says, tap it. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types, and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. This creature allows you to manipulate graveyard synergies, though it reduces the creature to an abilityless skeleton. That might not matter when the creature didn't have any abilities to begin with, or has abilities that you wish it didn't have. Such as Phyrexian Dreadnought, the mark of a great cube architect, is their ability to create more interesting and varied options for their drafters to play, my apprentice. As such, I highly recommend Chorale of the Void in your cubes. For 3 and a black, you get an enchantment aura that enchants a creature you control. Whenever this creature attacks, put target creature card from the defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. At the beginning of your end step, however, you must sacrifice this aura unless a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn. Though not all cubes will run warp, many cubes do enjoy morbid ability triggers. As such, Chorale of the Void is very easy to slot into these archetypes. Learn you well, my apprentice. To sustain a healthy cube, you must include cards that cover multiple archetypes. Elegy Acolyte is one such card. For 4 mana, you get a 4/4 human cleric with lifelink, already a formidable body. But it also says, whenever 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. That means, once per turn, you will be able to draw an additional card and gain a life, which you will most assuredly regain through the lifelink ability of the Acolyte. Then, at the end of your turn, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped either by yourself or your opponent, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. For those looking to include Blood Artist style effects in their cubes without going with just Blood Artist, I present to you Susurian Voidborn. Whenever this creature or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And you can also warp it in for 1 black mana. While it might have a higher casting cost than the Blood Artist, the 1 mana warp ability means that you can wait until the turn that you wish to combo off with a lot of sacrificing creatures, and then cast it for its warp ability for only a single mana. Then reap the benefits of your massive sacrificial spree. Behold the Faller's Faithful. For 3 mana, you get a 3/1 human wizard that says when this creature enters, destroy up to 1 other target creature. If that creature wasn't dealt damage this turn, its controller draws 2 cards. At first, you might say, but Master, why would I want to give my opponent 2 cards just for removing their creature? And I say, you pitiful, sniveling fool. Do you not understand the power of this creature? You do not have to destroy your opponent's creature. You can also target your own. If you do not wish to have that pitiful 1/1 human soldier, you can sacrifice it essentially to draw 2 cards. Or if you're in the throes of the late game, you can use it to remove your opponent's largest creature in order to attack with an alpha strike of your entire board. Think, apprentice. Think. Umbral Collar Zealot, the perfect pair for the Susurian Voidborn. For 2 mana, you get a 3/2 creature already above its curve. But in addition to that, it also allows you to sacrifice any other creature or artifact to surveil one of the first creatures of this kind ever printed. This is very powerful indeed, my apprentice. Powerful indeed. My apprentice, I foresee Terrapact Intimidator as a valuable asset for mono-red and low-to-the-ground archetypes in Cube. For 2 mana, you get a 2/1 creature that says, when it enters, your opponent may have you gain 2 lander tokens that allow you to fetch through your deck for basic lands. Or they can put 2 1/1 counters on the Intimidator. As such, it either grants you massive mana advantage in the early game, which such decks massively desire in order to thin their decks so that only their best cards are drawn. Or it is a 4/3 for only 2 mana. Either way, you win and your opponent loses. Similarly to Brotherhood's End, Melded Moxite is a new addition to the archetype of 2 mana red spells that allow you to draw 2 cards if you discard a card. This time being an artifact that allows it to synergize with multiple archetypes in most cubes. The fact that this card is also a common allows it to be played in peasant cubes. It also can be sacrificed to create a 2/2 colorless robot, essentially making it 3 cards in 1. While this next card might seem like a cute pick for Cube, the Might Form Harmonizer is not to be reckoned with. For 4 mana, you get a 4/4 insect druid that says, whenever a land you control enters, double the power of target creature you control until end of turn. You can also warp it in for 2 and a green mana. In archetypes that use such cards as Scapeshift and Harrow, it is incredibly easy to get multiple lands to enter the battlefield in a single turn. Remember, every trigger is exponential. A 2/2 becomes a 4/4. A 4/4 becomes an 8/8. A 64/64 becomes a 128. 128. Larval Scoutlander is another one of the spacecraft to make this list. For 3 mana, you get an Harrow-style ability when this artifact enters the battlefield. Then, once you have put enough charge counters on it through its station ability, it becomes a 3/3 flyer. This card fills many roles, as it is both an artifact, a creature, a way to get lands onto the battlefield, and much more. I like Fungal Colossus. It can cost, like, 2 mana for 5/5. You play it in, like, Domain. Probably a pauper cube, but still, it's really cool. Yeah, that's about it for that one. Pinnacle Emissary is a fun include for such archetypes as Artifacts Matter or Storm. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying, and this token can only block creatures with flying. Pinnacle Emissary is not unlike the Saheeli Rai Planeswalker from War of the Spark, in that it costs 3 mana and grants you a 1/1 artifact body whenever you cast a spell of a certain type. This is slightly more restrictive, but it is itself a 3/3 body for only 3 mana, allowing it to defend itself in a way that Saheeli Rai cannot. You can also warp this in for only 1 mana, meaning you can hold it in your hand until a turn you wish to play multiple artifacts at once. This synergizes very well with Memenon. My apprentice, would you like to lose the game for only 2 mana? Well, you will if you play against Biotech Specialist. For only 1 red and 1 green, your opponent would get a 1/3 Insect Scientist that when it enters creates a lander token. But more importantly, whenever you sacrifice an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to target opponent. Remember, my apprentice, red and green has more and more recently become the archetype of treasure tokens. You can very easily destroy your opponents by simply creating mana. The Blind Eternities are a very harsh and desolate place, my apprentice. The Eldrazi are very much an indicator of this. Anti-Causal Vestige is an Eldrazi for 6 mana that says when this creature leaves the battlefield, you first draw a card, then may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped. You can also warp it onto the battlefield for 4 mana, essentially giving you multiple cards on the battlefield for just 1. While the other planets spoiled in Edge of Eternities are very interesting, I found Susur Secundi Void Altar to gain my respect the most. This planet enters the battlefield tapped, and taps for 1 black mana. But once you've stationed it for 12 charge counters, you may pay 2 mana and 2 life to sacrifice a creature, and draw cards equal to its power, only as a sorcery. Many effects of this type are only found on large creatures or enchantments that cost a lot of mana investment. Susur Secundi does not. While you have to tap 12 power worth of your creatures in order to activate its ability, it is well worth the effort. But beware, my apprentice. Where there is darkness, there is also the light. Adagia Windswept Bastion is a planet that enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add 1 white mana, and for 12 charge counters worth of stationing, you can tap 3 and a white, and tap it to create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it is legendary, activated only as a sorcery. I am very intrigued by our enemy's ability to create mass amounts of card advantage using only such a pitiful little land. But I will admit, it is very powerful. Kylo Apogee Mind is one of our enemy's greatest weapons, my apprentice. For white, red, and blue, you get a legendary artifact creature, Robot Artificer, that is a 3/3 with haste. Whenever it becomes tapped, you proliferate. While this is evidently powerful for spacecraft and other such artifacts, there are many archetypes, especially in Cube, that enjoy putting counters of any type on their permanents or on players. Finally, my apprentice, behold the Hearthhole, the World Seed. This legendary spacecraft costs 1 black, red, and green. For 2 charge counters, you can tap 1, tap it, and sacrifice a land to draw 2 cards. Then you may play an additional land this turn. Once it has 8 or more charge counters, it then becomes a vigilant, flying haste 6/7 creature, with, whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. This is a very low-costed and highly advantageous creature with multiple abilities that allow you to progress your game state in this archetype. Now, my apprentice, go with what you have learned and conquer the Edge of Eternities.